The road to prosperity is paved with hard work and determination. You'll not be rewarded for your poor planning and laziness. The same is true now as it was in ancient Chinese times. As a fledgling farmer in Imperial China, you'll grow your farmland and take your harvested vegetables to the city in hopes of making it big. It's now time to see if you have what it takes to compete with the other vendors at the Gates of Loyang. You begin the game with a plot of land and 10 cash. It is with these humble beginnings that you start your journey to earning money and prosperity. You'll start the game by purchasing a crop from the local shop and sowing it in your home field. This will serve as your initial source of vegetables, as well as a timer to count the 9 rounds of the game. Every round begins by harvesting each of your fields and placing the vegetables in your cart. You then acquire additional farmland to be worked later. Next comes a card phase in which you will receive action cards that will dictate what your long-term plans will be. You'll initially be dealt 4 action cards from which you will select 2, but it's not as straightforward as selecting the action cards you want most and moving on. Instead, each player must select 1 card from their hand and 1 card from a common pool of cards called the courtyard. If you don't want any of the cards in the courtyard, you can pass, but you must then add a card from your hand to the courtyard. Once you're satisfied with the available cards, you make your selection and add any leftover cards in your hand to the courtyard for other players to choose from. It's a bit convoluted and even counter-thematic, but it does allow for some clever mind games and requires you to pay attention to your opponent's plans. Do you settle for what's in the courtyard? Or do you drop a card from your hand that you can pick up later and risk the chance that it will be snatched away? There are 4 types of action cards. There are market stalls that allow you to trade vegetables you have in your cart for vegetables you might not have in your fields. There are regular customers that want multiple deliveries of the same type of vegetables and will pay you for each sale. And then there are casual customers. They only want a single delivery, but they're willing to pay top dollar. Finally, there are helpers. These cards allow you special abilities that will help you manipulate the game in your favor. So with your cards in place, it's time to move into the action phase, where you're allowed to do the following actions as many times as you want and in any order you want. You can sell vegetables in your cart to the shop if they have a need, and you can also purchase from the shop if they have inventory. You can also sow vegetables to any empty fields you have. This fills the fields with vegetables to be harvested in future rounds. Making money revolves around making deliveries to your customers. Regular customers can provide a steady stream of income, but they are demanding. If you fail to deliver to a regular customer, they become angry. Fail to deliver to a customer who's already angry, and you have to pay 2 cash in order to appease them, every time you can't deliver. It's a lot of pressure, especially when you have multiple regular customers, so it's absolutely vital to make sure you have a steady source of vegetables. Casual customers won't get angry, but they aren't reliable, and there's a slight penalty if you have too many. You can also take a loan at any time for 5 cash if you're desperate. Just know that every loan you take will reduce your final score by 1, and in a game where the scoring track only goes to 20, that can be devastating. Once you've completed your actions, it's time to move along the path of prosperity. The first step along the path in every round only costs 1 cash. However, in order to move additional spaces on that turn, you must pay cash equal to the space you are moving to. This scoring system incentivizes paying for extra points early in the game when they are cheap, but that just happens to be the stage of the game when money is a lot harder to come by. I'm really not sure how I feel about it. On the one hand, it's unique and really does ratchet up the tension, but the few games I've played have been incredibly close, almost to a fault. It's definitely something I need to explore further. I'm of 2 minds on At the Gates of Loyang. On the one side, I really do enjoy creating my farming empire and watching it run like clockwork. There's a great satisfaction that comes when you make 3 or 4 deliveries on a single turn because of the way you set up your farming engine in past rounds. But there's not much to look at when it's all said and done. Your customers and fields are discarded when they've been used up. All you have to remind you of your accomplishments is your pawn on a scoring track. It's tight, tension-filled, and beautiful to look at. It's a solid game, but only time will tell if it's a great one.